You're the person everyone brings their problems to. You listen. You forgive easily. You say yes when you're already running on empty. You replay conversations hours after they're over, picking them apart for things you could have said better. If any of that sounds familiar, you're probably highly empathetic. And empathy, as good as it feels to other people, comes with a cost most of us were never warned about. I know, because it took me years of feeling drained after every conversation before I even had a word for what was happening to me. So, what is empathy exactly? Empathy is the ability to understand and emotionally connect with what someone else is going through. It's what lets us love people well, comfort them, actually be there. Empathy isn't the problem. So, how do you know if this is really you? People who are highly empathetic tend to describe the same handful of experiences. They walk into a room and sense when something's off before anyone explains why. The silence that lasted a beat too long, a shift in tone, a hesitation. Someone tells them, "I'm fine," and some part of them already knows that's not true. Spoiler, they are never fine. That's not a coincidence. Psychologists call it emotional contagion, our tendency to unconsciously pick up the emotions of the people around us. Research backs this up too. People who score higher on empathy tend to be better at catching subtle facial expressions and emotional cues other people miss entirely. It's like they never stop taking emotional information in. The problem is, almost nobody teaches you what to do with all of that information. You get really good at sensing what people feel, but no one ever sits you down and teaches you how to process it or how to tell the difference between someone who needs your empathy and someone who's learned to use it. Not every feeling you pick up on belongs to you. Sensing emotions isn't enough on its own. You also need the discernment to know what's actually yours to carry. Your biggest strength was never feeling everyone else's emotions. It's noticing them. Your biggest challenge is remembering that noticing and carrying are two very different things. So, what is the trap here? Picture a backpack. Every time someone shares a struggle with you, another rock goes in. You don't even notice it happening because each rock feels small on its own, but you never take any of them out. Without boundaries, the emotions you absorb from other people don't just pass through you, they settle in, and eventually you're the one walking around exhausted, carrying weight that was never yours to begin with. And down you go. So, what is the difference then between empathy and people pleasing? This is where a lot of empathetic people get stuck. They confuse empathy with people pleasing. They are not the same thing. Empathy notices what someone else feels. People pleasing changes who you are to keep them from feeling it. Empathy says, "I understand you're upset." People pleasing says, "I have to make sure you're never upset with me." Empathy creates connection. People pleasing creates exhaustion. And the cruel part is, from the outside, it can look exactly like kindness, generous, patient, even loving. And sometimes it just looks like someone being a jerk and you talking yourself out of noticing. But underneath, it usually runs on fear. Fear of disappointing people, fear of conflict, fear that the moment you stop being useful, people stop sticking around. That is not empathy. That's self-abandonment wearing kindness as a costume. So what is the twist here? Here's the part most people get wrong. Empathy isn't what's hurting you. The absence of boundaries is. Healthy people appreciate your kindness. Manipulative people exploit the fact that you don't know how to say no. And if you spend years putting everyone else's needs ahead of your own, you become exactly the kind of person those people are looking for because they're very good at spotting who won't push back. Now, if some part of you just tensed up at the word boundaries, like it sounds selfish or cold or like the opposite of who you want to be, hold that thought. That's not what we're talking about here. So how do we go about building boundaries that actually hold? A boundary isn't a wall. It's just a clear line for where your responsibility ends and someone else's begins. You can love someone without solving every problem they have. You can care deeply without taking their pain home with you at the end of the night. Before you say yes to something, try pausing long enough to ask yourself two questions. Am I doing this because I actually want to, or because I'll feel guilty if I don't? And is this actually my responsibility to fix? The people who genuinely love and respect you will respect the boundary too. The ones who get angry the moment you set one were usually benefiting the most from you never having it in the first place. Boundaries don't make you less compassionate. They're what make you compassionate and sustainable enough to last. You're not caring less. You're making sure you have anything left to care with at all. Boundary setting is an intentional exercise, and you need to say them out loud. Understanding boundaries was never the hard part. Saying them out loud is. So here are a few lines worth practicing. I care about you, but I can't take this on tonight. I need some time before I answer that. I understand you're upset, but I'm not responsible for fixing it. I want to support you, but I also need to protect my energy. I can listen for a few minutes, but I don't have it in me for a long conversation right now. I love you, but I can't be your only support system. This will feel very uncomfortable the first few times, and that's normal. If you've spent years saying yes on autopilot, saying no is going to feel wrong before it feels healthy. Discomfort isn't proof you're doing something bad. Sometimes it's just what growth feels like before it becomes familiar. A boundary isn't a debate, it's information. And how someone reacts to that information will tell you a lot about whether they actually respected you to begin with. You don't have to prove you're tired enough to deserve rest, or justify why you need space, or convince anyone that your limits are real. The world doesn't need fewer empathetic people. It needs empathetic people who know exactly where their responsibility ends and someone else's begins. Empathy is reaching out a hand to someone who's fallen. It was never meant to mean carrying them for the rest of their life. Empathy is a gift. Empathy without boundaries becomes a self-destructive curse. If this is the first time you've heard someone put words to what you've been carrying, try just one of those phrases this week. Pick the smallest one and just see what happens. And if this is the kind of thing you want to understand more of, this is what we do here. Subscribe, and let's figure the rest of it out together. WizDome out.